You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hella Well with Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle Washington, and if you are watching us on YouTube, watching us, as in watching me, you are seeing a brand new look. Yes, the hair is moving. I feel like Marilyn Monroe. If you're not watching me on YouTube, you should make sure you're checking us out on YouTube because we now have all of our episodes on YouTube, which I'm super, super excited about. And you can now finally start actually seeing what I'm saying. And you know, many people say, or like I forgot I was watching something on YouTube. No, it was on YouTube. I was watching something. I don't know where I was. But anyway, I was watching something and I was talking about, being a person who, talks with their hands or talks with their face, and facial expression says all these different things. My facial expressions say more than my actual words. So watching me do this podcast is probably going to be more, you'll get the feeling of what I'm trying to say because my face is saying things when my mouth is not. So anyway, let's get this podcast started today. Today's podcast is a little bit off the cuff. I'm freestyling because I feel like I've been hiding something that's been going on in my life recently. And I was like, girl, why are you hiding this from people? Like, especially if you're talking about, your wellness journey and people, being a part of this wellness revolution, the reality of it all, and I say this all the time, this wellness journey ain't for punks. And it is a journey. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And, part of the reason why I even want to start this podcast and why I do the wellness confessions on Instagram is because I got tired of people being like, oh my God, my life is so amazing. Just follow me. Like I did all these amazing things and my life is great. And I've never had any issues. Like I've always, talked well to myself and I didn't have any limiting beliefs. No, not me, but I can show you how to do it. Just pay me $1,000. And the reality of it all is even no matter where you are on this wellness journey, I got to believe people like, Oprah has issues and she has moments where she's not, being the best she can be to herself. And so I don't think we always show those moments when we're not being the best to ourselves. And so, or even parts of the journey. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give them a little bit of my journey of where I am today and what's been going on. Cause I've been quiet. My people who are friends with mine are probably like, why does this girl keep disappearing? Why? Like ever since she ghosted the world and went to Bali, she just keeps disappearing on people. And it's true. And especially right now, I'm in a season of where I'm just going inwards. And like I'm talking about Bali. So if you aren't aware of part of my story, in 2018, God, this seems like it was forever. But 2018, I had 6 people die on me. Two of them I was caregiving for and like were my everything, like especially my cousin Beverly was my everything. She was my, surrogate mother, my sister. She was my therapist. She was my, keep it real, my interventionist. She was my everything. And I lost her to cancer at a young age. And that really broke me. And I was fortunate enough to have 3 friends check me separately, who don't know each other. And they all were like, sis, you're grieving. You're being hella passive aggressive. You're just being aggressive. Fuck that. You're being aggressive. And we're going to need you to like recognize that you're grieving and take a break. And so I took a break and I went to Bali. Thought I would totally, type A my self-care. I totally got this. I have my, journal. I picked this beautiful place in Seedman, Bali, which is like gorgeous. It's like, if you know anything about Ubud, it's like Ubud before Ubud became like this tourist land. And so it's super quiet. Ain't nothing going on. Not even the rent. Ain't nothing going on. Like literally, I did try to walk around. I'm like, oh, maybe there's something to see around here. And I'm like, yeah, there's not anything here but my hotel. On the state right here on property. And the other thing I brought with me is Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. I loved that book. That book was everything to me. That book helped me through my process of, healing. But what I loved about that book was I could relate to so many different things in Michelle Obama's life. Like, I worked in politics. Many people don't know. I've started off in politics. My first job out of college was working for Ruth Messenger, who was running for mayor of New York against Giuliani. Clearly, she didn't win. But, I worked in politics for many years, and I was able to resonate with a lot of things she was saying. And I remember that journey. I remember I just wanted to become a civil rights lobbyist. I wanted to be a lobbyist fighting for, against the man. That was my dream. That was what I was going to become. And from 4 years old to 25, I worked on becoming that. And then I got lost. I came back and was like, let me phrase that. I didn't get lost. Before I got lost, I fractured my pelvis bone. One thing you never want to do in life. I fractured my pelvis bone, was told you may have cancer at 24. And I'm in DC at this time without any family. So I fractured my pelvis bone. I told I may have cancer, and I'm by myself, and I'm freaking the F out. And the resident who told me that should definitely not be a doctor, probably is a doctor right now, but I really hate the resident. It's to the point that I don't like residents to this day, because I'm like, he comes in the room, he's like, oh yeah, we think you have cancer in your fractured pelvis. But I'm like, oh, wrong room. I came in here with like a groin pain. Like, I just have pulled a muscle. He's like, your name's Danielle Washington. I'm like, yep. He's like, yep, we think you have cancer. I'm like, yo, that's not the bedside manner. But long story short, as I went off a total tangent, from that point on in my life, I came back to California because I wanted to be closer to my family. My niece was about to be born, and I just felt like I needed my family. I come from a family that was close. Like for me, growing up, Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving was like, between 40 to 60 people, easily. And we still have a whole bunch of people in Louisiana who I never see. Like to this day, I kind of low-key don't even know what some of them look like. But don't tell my relatives that I said that. But like, I don't know some of my relatives because I don't see them. But the ones I do, we're hella close. We're a large, close-knit family. I'm the youngest of 22 first cousins, which is crazy to say that I'm the youngest of the 22 first cousins. And some of my aunts and uncles didn't have any kids. But anyway, I came back and I'm like, I came back at 25 at that point. From 4 to 25, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I was becoming. I had a dream, and I was moving towards that dream. And then I got to a point in my life where I was just floating. I was floating around. What did I do? I worked as a concierge at, this, I don't know, it's a retail / commercial / business space in San Francisco. I did something else. Oh my God, yes. I worked in high-tech PR until the dot-com bust busted up everyone from working. And it was the first time I was ever laid off. I was like, I got laid off. Dang. But for the record, I was the last person standing in my job. It felt like every week someone would get fired. No, it felt like literally every week there would be a new person fired. And I'm like, it was like every Friday, who's getting fired this Friday? And like, I was so happy that I literally made it to the last person standing, which says something about who I am. But that was not a good feeling, for the record. So if you ever have a business and you're going out of business and you're having issues, don't do that, because the morale sucks. But like, I floated through all these different things, and then I found this really cool job where I was traveling the world, putting on these events, doing all these music things, and I had an amazing job. I loved my job in theory. I loved what it did for me, but I wasn't loving who I was. I wasn't growing, and I quit. And, kind of went on this other journey, and which has led me to where I am today. And even that being said, that's part of my wellness journey. That was part of me unlearning and undoing some of the things. And like, when I quit that last corporate job, I remember the CEO at the time was like, "You're stupid. You're crazy for doing that." And I'm like, why? He's like, because this is the best job you'll ever have. You're doing so well. Mind you, they weren't willing to give me any more money. They're like, oh, sorry, you've hit the cap. We can't pay anyone. But if I was a male, I'm sure I got paid a lot more. And I was just like a robot. Like I was doing, these, $1,000 million events. And I'm like, my eyes closed. I'm like, I can do this with my eyes closed. And I wasn't being fulfilled. Like I love the travel, but I was dying inside mentally. And I almost think that was worse than a full, like literal death. And so then I started, shifting and thinking, okay, I found it. I'm becoming this traveler and I'm becoming an entrepreneur and I'm, changing all these different things, and which is great because I am doing all these things. I am focused in on creating a wellness revolution for women of color so they can take care of themselves and start thriving and not just surviving. But at the same time, I matter. It's not about what I do for a living. I had to I've been going through a process where I was seeing things about myself and I was like, ooh, I don't like that. Ooh, I said that. Oh, I don't like that either. And I had to start recognizing that, I think there's some things I need to unlearn. I need to become who I was. And unbecome in the sense of unbecoming how I talk to myself. Because how I was talking to myself, every other word was like, why'd you do that? Bitch, the fuck are you thinking about? Like, this is how I would talk to myself. And I'm like, why am I calling myself a B? Why am I talking to myself like I am the stupidest person in the world? Because that's how I talk to myself every single day. Those were the words I would tell myself. And then on top of that, I had these limiting beliefs that I have now been working on unlearning. Learning the narrative that other people told me about me. And one of my worst pet peeves, I'm going to just break this down. If you on my Instagram page, you saw this already. But one of my one of the pet peeves I have is when people like to tell you about you. People who know you from way back when and be like, oh, you this, you that. You're just that girl who, was all into soccer and you're just the girl who grew up in a white town and woo woo. And I'm like, you don't know me. And I really hate when people try to tell me about me. And I know I'm not the only person who has that because they're working on an old narrative that I no longer accept as my narrative. And, oftentimes we talk about these narratives that people put on us, these narratives, these old limiting beliefs. But if you don't accept it as your truth, it's not your responsibility. That's whatever else the narrative that people create about you ain't your responsibility. But oftentimes, and I'll tell you, I was one of those people who accepted the narratives people said about me. People said that, oh, you're only known about travel. So you should only focus on travel. Oh, you're this person who is, you're special. Like you need to just not try to do these other things, or you aren't black enough to, really focus in and understand what other women of color need, or you should just do this other thing. Y'all don't know me. And I didn't know me because if I knew me at certain times, I would have said BS to half things people were saying to me, but I also would have said BS to myself about how I was talking to myself and how I was showing up. Other thing I had to think about is, I had to unlearn what society says is beauty. I mean, you look at me today, yes, this was almost old school me, minus the fact that, let me be clear, I cut off about 1.5 inches to 2 inches yesterday, and I cut my hair. I had to unlearn that I had to go to the stylist to get my hair cut. Now, I ain't going to unlearn the color of my hair because that ain't something I'm doing. But I've been getting my hair done professionally since I was 5 until the pandemic. I had never put a pair of scissors to my hair. Minus the one time when I was a kid and I got my ass beat for that because I was doing some stupid stuff. I was like, oh, what would this look like? I just did a little bit, but I didn't know a lot. But I'd never actually intentionally cut my hair to be in a style or something like that until last year. Was it? Oh my God, it was this year. It was earlier this year because I did this hair challenge. Shout out to Naturalicious, whose hair products who I love and use. And they have this amazing Repair Your Hair challenge. Gwen Jameer is just a genius, and I love her products, and I love her, and I love the community that she has created. But, I was in her Repair Your Hair challenge, which I forgot it was like 7 days or 2 weeks. I don't know. It was long. It was long, but it was good. But like she talked about, she taught us how to like trim your hair. And I was like, girl, I don't trim my hair. Are you crazy? I'm like, I've never put a pair of scissors to my hair. And I also don't straighten my hair. I'm like, are you crazy again? Like, I don't straighten my hair because I don't want my curls never to come back. But, now look at me. This is the second time I've done it. I have straightened my hair so I can cut my hair. And it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me when I was a little girl and I was taught that to be beautiful as a Black woman, you had to have long, straight hair, especially as a dark-skinned woman, because I am a little bit on the darker side. And as a dark-skinned woman, that's how you were shown as beautiful. And, I got praised for my hair to the point where people would pet me like a fucking dog, and I hated it. I freaking hated it. Like, people were like, oh my God, your hair is so cute for a dark-skinned girl. I never really caught on to the shade that was attached to the compliments. People love to give, shade compliments. There needs to be a combination word. I haven't figured out what it is yet, but I'm going to go with that one for right now. But like people would tell me, oh, you're so beautiful. And like with, your long hair, because my hair was like down to here as a kid. Like it was long and it was crazy. And I hated it. I didn't feel like me. It felt like I was the shell of this person that my parents needed me to be showcased. Look, here's our perfect little daughter. She's cute. She has long hair. She can smile. Oh, damn, she opened her mouth. Oh, well. Because as soon as I opened my mouth, people were like, and we're exiting stage left. Because I was a person who was like, oh, you're going to hear me. I don't care what age I am. My voice matters. And by the way, freedom of speech. First Amendment, that means I have the right to speak. I knew my amendment at a very young age, and I used it to my advantage constantly. But like, it wasn't until I got bold enough to be like, this ain't me. This ain't me. My hair does not define me. Not only that my hair does not define me, having straight hair doesn't feel right. It didn't feel like it matched the personality that I knew was inside of me. So unlearning, and I unlearned a long time ago that for me, beauty isn't about straight hair. Beauty isn't also about my hair. Beauty for me is showing that I enjoy being a Black woman with natural hair. I love my afro. I love my afro when it's doing its own thing because I'm like, it is what it is. And I'm going to just rock my hair whatever. But I like that because that's me. I love when my hair is big because it fits my personality. I also had to unlearn what happiness, and this is more recently, unlearn what happiness, success, and failure is. I feel like as an entrepreneur, people always say, hustle hard. You ain't a real entrepreneur unless you hustling. F that. You're not a real person unless, and this is my opinion, you're taking time for you. You're taking time to rest. Your body and your mind needs time to reset. But, I was becoming what other entrepreneurs told me I needed to be. I was becoming what my business coaches told me, this is how you need to become to be successful. And when I started to realize and unlearn and focus on unlearning that, that's not what works for me. And sometimes we need to recognize that. What someone else is telling you, what some guru, expert, whatever they are, is telling you may be great for them. It may have been the bomb thing that they did and worked perfectly for them, but it may not work for you. You're different. We all are different. It's like art is in the eye of the beholder. So is wellness. What works for one does not work for the other. It's unlearning all these different things, unlearning what, success was, unlearning what failure was. I'm learning what failure was. I'm learning that making a mistake in life is not failure was huge. And I had to unlearn that. I had to unlearn that that's not what failure is to me. Making a mistake is a lesson. So when I fail, it's just a lesson. It's a chance for me to grow as a person. But when I had this other mentality about, what failure was, I showed up in a whole different world. And there was no aha moment to all this. I mean, there wasn't like, dun da da da, your life is all crazy, out of alignment, not where you want to be, especially when you're trying to do all these different things. And sis, you need to make some changes. There wasn't an aha moment. There wasn't this moment. All I know is there was a point in my life where I was tired of being tired. I was tired of being angry all the time and blaming the world, like, they're just doing better because they got, this, they figured out how to do ads, and she's doing better with, getting guys because, she's pretty and she, does this, other things. And, people just doing this stuff to me. And I had this massive victim mode mentality. And it was the point where I think I did it more for people to like me. I was like, oh, look, I'm this wounded person, like me because I'm wounded, like me. Victim, 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 like me. Please, please, God, please, like me. And then when they didn't like me, I'm like, well, I tried. Why didn't, I gave the best sob story. I was Oscar worthy of sob story. And why are they not appreciating and validating me the way I wanted to? And I got tired of that. I got tired of the point of dude, being wounded is not sexy. Being wounded and being a victim doesn't feel good to me. It didn't feel good to me. It was like with the hair. It felt like the straight hair to me. It felt like this didn't fit with where I was going. I had, started a little bit further on this wellness journey and was recognizing some things. I was doing some reading and been working on myself regularly and not even realizing that I kind of was even doing this. And I really think a lot of it started with the trip to Bali when I ghosted the world, literally got off of line, stopped the business, didn't email, didn't call anyone, literally anyone who I was associated with didn't hear from me for months. And I didn't care. You called, I didn't answer. I didn't call you back. I didn't text you back. I wasn't on social media. So if you didn't know my parents or someone who literally saw me somewhere, then you might have thought I was dead because I was working on me and I was healing and using that time to start growing. But in that growing, I started changing my habits and patterns and realizing this doesn't work for me. And so what I realized was the first step in me unlearning all these different things, unlearning limiting beliefs, unlearning how I speak to myself, unlearning things I thought to be true, was awareness. I had learned to be aware of what I was doing, what I was saying, how I was showing up. And I was realizing, this is not the person I want to be. This is not me. This doesn't feel good. And when it doesn't feel good. You wake up every morning, you're like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to talk to my man. My kids get on my last nerves. You just know when that something ain't right. But you're just going on the hamster wheel of life and thinking things are okay. And it is what it is when it doesn't have to be that way. And so awareness for me was the first step. When I became aware that I was talking negatively to myself way more than saying anything positive about myself. When I became aware that I was taking on narratives that weren't mine, I had taken on this narrative that I have to, in order to be valuable or deemed valuable, I had to show everyone, oh my God, look at Danielle. She's always there for people. She can do all these things. She can multitask. She is valuable because she can do things. And that was the narrative and limiting beliefs I told myself for so many years. And when I started being aware that, I think I'm more than that. I don't think I like the way I talk to myself. I think that I am worthy of love. I am worthy of just being who I am. Afro and all, just because I exist. And when I first had that awareness, let me backtrack. Awareness is the first step. But what you have to do, and this is the part that was the hardest, is observing yourself. Okay, the aha moment is the awareness. I think something's not right. Number 2, let's observe what's going on. what's kind of going on in the world, and be honest with yourself. This is not the time to be lying to yourself, because we do lie to ourselves. And there ain't no joy, no healing in lying to yourself in this point, because no one else is learning unless you unless you are telling people what you're doing. And I encourage you not to tell people what you're doing. Watch yourself honestly, without judgment. Be honest with yourself and do not judge yourself in a judgment-free, and observe, what are you doing? What do you like about yourself? What do you don't like about yourself? What are things that you're like, this doesn't feel like it's in alignment with where I'm going. This seems like, patterns from the old me. And I get it. The comfort zone is beautiful. It feels like the best snuggly blanket you've ever had that you can cozy up into. And sometimes it's like on the really cold day, and you don't want to get out. You're like, I don't want to get out of this. Like, it's so cold out there. Like, I don't want to get out. But there's no growth in the comfort zone. There's none whatsoever. And a way to get out of that comfort zone and to grow into the person you are desiring to be is through awareness. And it's through that observation in a judgment-free zone. And when you're doing that, be able to give yourself forgiveness. I had to forgive myself and not beat myself up further for talking shit about myself. And that was like, because that defeated the purpose. I'm like, I would be mad at myself, and then I would talk badly about myself for talking badly about myself. And I'm like, wait a second, sis. You're observing that you realize that something's not right about the way you're talking to yourself. You're observing that you're talking hella negatively about yourself. I call it the inner mean girl. And then you have nerves enough to shade the inner mean girl with more negative talk. And I'm like, I don't think this is working out for you. And so I had to learn how to forgive myself. Forgive myself for things I did in the past. Forgive myself for, talking negatively about myself. And in whatever I said about myself in the past, I had to forgive myself for, buying in as a child. Forget that. I wasn't a child. I didn't change my hair until, God, I think I've been natural since 2007. So y'all do the math. I don't do math very well. So anytime before then, I'd been natural since I was 5 years old. And I've had only for that. Let me backtrack. I had a perm from 5 until 2007. So that's a really long time. And it didn't feel good. And I had to forgive myself for not speaking up for the little girl inside of me who said that this doesn't feel right. For the teenage girl who felt awkward because people looked at me and liked me for my hair and not for who I was as a person. And I didn't change and get out of those relationships because I'm like, well, this is what they say beauty is. And so we're just going to, stick with it, go with my just for me look. Sorry, I love doing that. If you're watching me on the YouTube channel, I love shaking my hair. I don't know what it is. As a child, that's part of, that's what I used to do. I'd go to the hairdresser, and after I get a hairdresser, I would shake my hair and I would sing the Just For Me commercial. If you're too young to know the commercial was bomb. But I had to learn to forgive myself for old beliefs that got me through, got me through whatever I was going through at the time. I had to forgive myself, especially for being a victim. That was hard. That when I had the realization that when I became aware and started observing how I was showing up in a victim, I felt so guilty for over half of the relationships I had with people, just intimate and professional and platonic, whatever. I just felt like, I showed up real wrong. And it was embarrassing to the point where I was like, I don't even want to talk to that person. Like, I know what I did in that situation. And like, that was straight victim Danielle talking and showing up. And like, I feel embarrassed. How am I going to go back and be like, now I'm better? Well, we can be friends now. And I felt really uncomfortable about being and growing into this person who I really love. I love me now. And I didn't want to be around people. So I had to forgive myself for the things I did, things I said to myself, things I said to other people. And I started creating new patterns. And we talked about it in last week's podcast, which is now officially up. I jacked it up last week and I realized that I only posted the outro song, and I'm like, why is this only 47 seconds? But so now it's up officially. But last week's podcast episode was talking about tiny habits and using tiny habits to like anchoring your current habits you have, using your current habits as an anchor to create new habits. Because before I was the person like, oh, just keep repeating, and eventually it will become a habit. Repeat your behaviors. Now I've been doing this new thing called tiny habits. It is changing, life changing in the world, but creating new patterns. And how I was showing up, meditating more. I start off this thing what someone taught me, and it may sound a little silly, but I really love it. I take a spoon of honey every single day and I say something loving to myself. And that helped me grow into being able to speak better about myself. And when I catch myself saying be da 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 da, I'm like, stop, love. And I talk to myself as if I am a 5-year-old daughter that I never had. And nor do I want at this point. But like I talk to myself like, love, it's okay. It's okay that you did this, it's a learning lesson and all these different things. Like, you're okay. Like, I still here. I still love you. I still am there for you. And I had to unlearn how to talk to myself in a negative way and become a new person I had to unlearn to become what I really wanted to be and creating those new habits. And on top of that, I just need to give myself grace. And I think we solely don't. We give so many people grace. We give the milkman down the street, no, he's not a real milkman, but we give anyone grace over ourselves. We're like, oh, that's okay. You ran over my foot with the car. I see that you were, texting at the same time and maybe you had an emergency versus, we don't give ourselves grace. We don't give ourselves a compassion for, we're human. I'm not perfect. And I had to unlearn that. I had to unlearn that I'm not perfect. I was like, what? So I'm not perfect? I'm a Virgo. Of course I'm perfect. No, I'm not perfect. And I'm human. And I am growing. And I'm on this journey. And I am unlearning so many different things. Because the reality of it all, these things didn't happen overnight. They totally didn't happen overnight. They happened over several years of several behaviors becoming into habits and coming into patterns that I'm now having to unlearn how to be me. And basically, I'm unlearning the old me so I can continue to grow into the me that is now, the me that is in the future, me 2.0, that is thriving. That knows she's worthy, that knows that she's not perfect. And what helped me the most through all this, part of it started again in Bali, but is allowing my mind time to reset. I am one of those people who loves a good Google search. I am like, my niece and nephews laugh at me because I'm like, they'll ask me a question. I'm like, what's the first thing I always tell you? Did you Google it? Okay, so did you Google it? No, why not? Like, go to Google first, then come to me. But I love good Google search. I will Google search and then like learn everything. I will read every article possible. Like, I pick a mind, I'm like, okay, I need to unlearn. Okay, let's see. First step, Google. How do you unlearn? Okay, let's do that. Okay, there's a class on unlearning. Great, we're going to take this class. Oh, there's a book on unlearning. Oh, I'm going to read a book too. And I'm a total mind person and whatever. Like, I will try to grasp as much information so then I can I need the how-to. I don't need it. I'm afraid that I'm unlearning to need the how-to. This is where I am now. I am unlearning to need the how-to. Because where I am today and the season I'm in right now, and it's so much in alignment, so many different things, is I'm in a period of letting it happen. Letting things come to me. Like, I had my astro numerology reading done by this amazing guy named Jonathan Dent. I'm hoping one day he will be on the show. But he is brilliant in breaking down your natal chart with your numerology and kind of putting it all together. And it said exactly what I was going through. It was like, you're in a period of resting. You're in a period of internalizing. You're in a period of unlearning. And I didn't even realize I'm doing what everything, like, until I read it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing all this. I'm in the process, and I'm in feeling that, it's not a time to discover how to, but it's time to let source, God, intuition, universe, your ancestor, whoever you call out to, just pour into you in knowledge. And I have been sitting in meditation. I have been sitting in not even meditation. I just sit in silence. I literally sit for some days and I don't talk to anyone. I don't get online. Although I get online a little bit, but I'm like one of those drive-by online people. And I'm selling myself out right now. I will get online real quick. I'll be posted and we get off. Because I just feel like I'm in a season where the information is coming to me. The observations are coming to me. And it's hard for me, to really observe and be aware if I'm constantly on Netflix, I'm constantly online, I'm out and about and everything. And COVID helped with that, in all honesty. Like, I was like, oh, I can disappear without anyone really, shading me for it, because I'm like, oh, what? Sorry, I don't go outside because of COVID. Reality, I'm really not outside because I am in a season of unlearning. I'm in a season of growing into what I think is an amazing person. And I'm getting really emotional at this point. And that's kind of crazy, but I'm proud of me. Oh God. I am proud of the work, because I can't say this was something that happened overnight. I can say that this is a process that has been happening over several years. And I'm now in a beautiful season where the aha moments are happening. The manifestations are happening. And I'm trusting me more, and I'm trusting me to the point where I'm saying it's okay to unbecome. It's okay to unlearn what you thought was true. And it's okay to let go of people. It's okay to let go of mindsets. It's okay to let go of a job if it's not in alignment where God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, has you going. So I encourage you to just let your mind reset. I let you, allow you to be you. Allow yourself to say, okay, I'm going to breathe. And I'm going to start becoming aware of what I'm doing. I'm going to observe myself. I'm going to give myself forgiveness for what I've done in the past. I'm going to start creating new habits and new patterns. And I'm going to give myself grace as I grow and give myself compassion. Yeah, that's all I got. I didn't mean to get emotional, but yeah, it's just one of those things where, again, this week's topic was off topic, and not off topic, but it was off the cuff. And I just wanted you to know where I am. So if you wonder why Danielle's quiet, why she's kind of sometimes online, kind of not, because there's points where I'm just going through a deep dive of unlearning. That's like, I don't want to interrupt it. I don't want to interrupt the pattern and the situation that's going on that's helping me grow into the person that I know I was meant to be. I know that I'm powerful. I know that I was meant to help other people, and I'm meant to be a light to help other women grow into who they're meant to be. It took me a long time to get here. And I still have moments where I'm like, oh, I don't believe that. I have doubt. Oh, it doesn't like, And old patterns still show up. But I'm giving myself grace to go through it, breathe through it, flow through it, and know that my ancestors, God, my friends, my family, and I have myself. That's it for today. This hair is going outside because, I don't know, I just feel like going outside because I need to be in nature. Because again, I've unlearned that that I'm not a nature person, but I'm totally a nature person. I am that nature nugget girl who likes to be outside. So you'll see me out in those parks. Say hi. Other than that, I will see you all next week. Ciao. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.